Hey everyone, Dave from Corso here, drinking my coffee. Today with my special guest star, John. John from California, and Alex from Corso. Today, continuing down the Sepasoft solved SPC, and I like to tell everyone John is the world's foremost expert on SPC, on Sepasoft.
And I like to tell Dave that he's wrong.
So we're going to do the most logical thing and have Alex start explaining what SPC is.
So SPC is a tool to track quality information from your process. Generally that would be done, you pull units off the line while you're in production or grab units throughout the production day as they come off the line. And that will allow you to understand any quality issues as they're happening. If you're going to have a run of production parts and you're going to make 1 million units and you start tracking them, the run, you may only make 20 or 100 or 1,000 units before you notice an issue, rather than getting to 500,000 or 1 million units that all have the same problem.
It's all about identifying issues in your process as early as possible to save yourself time and money. SPC stands for Statistical Process Control, as Alex quite accurately explained. So without going into too much detail to tell you why SPC is near and dear to my heart, my first project, not only in Ignition, but as as a developer, was an SPC project, and that was handed to me, and I had no idea what SPC stood for. So first thing I did after leaving my boss's office and sighing was going straight to Google and Googling what the acronym SPC stood for, and I spent the next year building out a pretty in-depth project. But in terms of Sepasoft, that was where I did my first project, and I learned kind of the robust aspects of what the SPC module from Sepasoft offers in Ignition. And just in terms of data entry itself. So we can connect to PLCs, we can connect to databases, we can connect via USB, any kind of serial really. We can do straight up manual entry with a keyboard. So we can pull in and input devices, device data for samples in any kind of way. We can do them manually. There's built-in scheduling tools for it, so we can schedule these, because a lot of times it'll be a time-based. Maybe every 30 minutes you have to pull 3 samples, or it could be a unit-based, where every 500 parts you have to test X amount based on the sample size specified by a manufacturing engineer. So there's a lot of complexity, but the SPC module kind of makes that simple for the integration side. So there's a lot of stuff to look at, but if we just kind of take a very high-level overview of what the SPC module is in Sepasoft and Ignition. If we look at the screen right here, so this is basically it's an entry table, so where we can look at the samples that we've defined within the SPC module, and we can do some tests here. So if I just want to quickly add a sample, let's say let's take a net weight. And once I click select, it's going to auto-populate the sample size that needs to be taken for this test. I can correlate it with a work order based on the location, because typically locations are going to be assigned to a production line, something along those lines. So I can relate this sample to a specific work order that's been either currently running or from the past. We can select a lot of different metadata. Say this is the startup of the line, and we want to associate this test with it being the startup. As soon as I click on one of these, I can see that I have my spec values, anything along those lines. I'm going to do manual keyboard entry for these, but once again, we can use digital calipers, anything along those lines, and automatically input it all in here. So I see my values. We get a couple little dots here and there. Green ones obviously mean that they're good. Yellow is it's out of control, still in spec, and then you'll get a red for it being out of spec. So I actually added one, it was yellow, so I'm going to click submit. It's going to give me a little pop-up saying, hey, this one's out of control, just to let you know. We can do any kind of alerting off of this, via emailing, texting, anything along those lines. And it just gives me an option to either add a note here, or I can go back and remeasure again. Maybe it was a data entry mistake. Maybe I accidentally wrote 4 and what I wanted to write was 3, something along those lines. We can go back, or we can just save it anyways as accurate. Really quickly, it gives me the ability to just automatically go and grab a sample, take it, ad hoc and just go create a sample, no problem. These can all be scheduled, and a large list of samples can be scheduled saying that these need to be taken, and then quality inspectors can go through a list and just work from the top down from all the scheduled ones. Really it's robust, and it could be catered to fit whatever needs to happen. Setup is super simple with these things. We have definitions. Within a definition, there's attributes, which are maybe weight or IDs, ODs, anything along those lines. And then of course signals and out of control limits, which we can alert on, anything along those lines. And then probably some of the best option of SPC is the ability to analyze all these samples, and there's a lot of built-in charts and capabilities for analysis where we can just pull straight, very summarized data saying that 16 samples have been taken, the X-bars, standard deviation, min-max, PP, PPK, a lot of different calculations. Or we can see everything on a nice control chart that's color-coded, showing that these are out of control but still in spec. If these were out of spec, they would turn red in here. So a lot of cool functionality in here.
Awesome. And kind of what you were talking about with QC inspectors and everything else, the idea with SPC is to have a better understanding of your quality, right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
We talked about OEE and downtime tracking, and we talked about how quality was one of the metrics. And a lot of times when people are looking to improve quality or have a lot more visualization of what's going on with quality, they go and they look at an SPC solution.
Absolutely, yes. It's all about being able to identify issues within production as quick as possible. Like Alex was kind of pointing to, if we're going to create 1 million of a specific part, we want to be continuously checking to ensure that we are within dimensional ranges and doing visual tests. So say if these were molded parts, we want to make sure that we're not seeing an excess amount of flash or short shots in parts. So it's all about being able to identify issues within your process as quickly as possible so that we can not only be behind on part creation, but reduce scrap considerably.
Awesome.
You could use SPC on its own, but you could also pair it with the OEE module and get better information with OEE. And you were talking about even taking the units in the quality lab and applying those to OEE, like decrementing your good parts counter if you find something bad in the lab.
Yeah, absolutely.
More accurate data.
Yeah, if parts come off the line and the parts identify them as good within OEE, but then a quality inspector maybe 30 minutes after those tests or after those parts are produced, if they go into a box and pull 5 units out and they test them and they find that 1 out of the 5 is bad, then they go back through the rest of the lot or the production order and they find additional units. We can identify that in these tests when we're relating these parts to a specific work order, and we can decrement and update that quality level accordingly with OEE. So they do kind of go hand in hand and integrate well with each other.
Yeah, and what we had talked about earlier with production model and kind of the global architecture and how everything works very well with each other on the Sepasoft, and how one MES module can very easily lead you to other MES modules to help you drill down and figure out what you're looking for and what you need, very much applies here.
Absolutely.
You want to tell the people what to do, John?
Like and subscribe right here, even though it's probably going to be right here.
And comment down below.
Oh,
Comment down below.
nice things, mean things, anything?
Anything. Tell us what we missed or what we got wrong.
No, we almost always get something wrong, but hopefully you guys learned something, because I know we learn something every time we do this. Until next time, bye-bye.
See ya. I'm just gonna do that to you every time now.
That's fine. I'm gonna laugh when you're not living in California anymore. Living in the Alaskan bush. John from the Alaskan bush, coming at you through sat phone.
Hopefully I have internet there. Not like Reno, but
You're recording your screen.
no. It can be.
Now we'll press the record button, and now we're recording the screen.
Okay.